So I originally joined the furry fandom back in 2016 or 17. I had just finished my last year in secondary school and I was trying to look for some hobbies to make some friends.
Now keep in mind, at this point I'm still in a community that has a deep hatred for furries. This kinda came to a head after the Spotlight feature was added to YouTube and a furry by the name of Rainy Chaos was showcased compared to the other quote-unquote talent on YouTube.
But I did meme on him a little bit, like everybody really does when they're not on the fandom. They do meme on it quite a bit. I don't know why. I guess it's just because it's a weird thing, I guess, and everybody just memes on it for the laughs. So I did do that.
If you ask any furry when they discovered the fandom, you'll probably hear wildly different stories. Someone may have stumbled across furry art on DeviantArt, while someone else watched a YouTube video about fursuit making. Or maybe someone got recommended a VR chat world that was somehow furry related during lockdown. The paths that some people take into the furry fandom are just as diverse as the people who join it. But there's usually this moment of recognition where somebody realizes, oh, there are others that are like me. Personally, I wanted to look into this because understanding why people join the furry fandom, both historically and in the present day, reveals a lot about what the community offers that people just aren't finding elsewhere. Of course, these reasons won't apply to everyone, but they represent common patterns that researchers have documented. So before I get into the specific motivations and the massive growth surge during 2020, let me first explain what draws people into the furry fandom in the first place. So, at its most basic level, people join the furry fandom because they are fascinated by anthropomorphic animals and enjoy expressing themselves through art, costumes, and more generally creative work. According to Fur Science, the main motivators include a sense of community, interest in the artwork, encouragement from friends, related fandoms, and an interest in anthropomorphism itself. But what's particularly interesting is how strongly the fandom fulfills the psychological need for belonging. Research shows that furries agree more strongly than members of other fandoms that being part of a group larger than oneself is a powerful motivator for their participation. And to be honest, the main appeal of becoming a furry, so to speak, is the ability to take on a new identity, but not in a therianthropy way. Often furries are quite shy, reserved, and socially anxious in real life, and of course, many are also neurodivergent. People with autism, ADHD, and other conditions who struggle to feel comfortable in a world that doesn't always understand them. Anyway, before the internet became such a big thing, finding the furry fandom was significantly harder. In the 1990s, furries found each other primarily through chat rooms and message boards, with conventions being extremely rare events. The internet was seen as a major catalyst for the furry fandom finding one another during this period. And for many people in these earlier times, furry communities served as one of the few online environments where individuals could openly embrace their queer identities and connect with like-minded people. This is likely why the furry fandom is deeply intertwined with themes of self-exploration, personal expression, and belonging. Before social media even existed, it was almost instinctive for queer individuals who ventured online to gravitate towards the furry fandom. This created a foundation of radical acceptance that still characterizes the community today. The COVID-19 pandemic also caused a massive shift in how furries engaged with the fandom and subsequently triggered unprecedented growth. The stay-at-home orders forced virtually all in-person conventions to close, some of which unfortunately closed permanently, which pushed the community back to its internet roots. According to convention organizers and community observers, many people found and joined the fandom during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns. The furry fandom exploded in growth during this period, with people spending more time online and discovering niche communities they might have never encountered otherwise. Online furry conventions and streaming events suddenly became the primary way to engage with the community. Conventions like Fernal Equinox organized Keep Calm Con and Down Home FurCon to raise funds for displaced displaced charities, whilst VRChat adoption accelerated as furries sought virtual spaces to socialize. Today, people join the furry fandom for reasons that build on historical patterns but reflect current social dynamics. The community provides an especially safe place for young people struggling to find validation and acceptance elsewhere, particularly LGBTQ+ youth who make up a significant portion of the fandom. For neurodivergent individuals, the fandom offers an environment where stimming, special interests, and different communication styles aren't just tolerated, but instead celebrated. Being a furry allows people to convey their thoughts and feelings in a supportive environment without the masking required in mainstream spaces. Creative expression is also a huge draw. The blend of self-expression, artwork, costume making, and storytelling appeals to people who want to explore aspects of their identity through their persona. There's creative freedom and confidence in designing a character that represents who you are or who you want to be. And the numbers since lockdown ended tells a remarkable story about sustained growth. Anthrocon nearly doubled in attendance from 2022 at 9,702 to 2024 at 17,679, whilst Furry Week in Atlanta also more than doubled from 2022 at 7,212 to 2024 at 15,021, which, if you do a little bit of quick maths, is a staggering 245% increase in just 3 years. Right now, there are 10 conventions with more than 5,000 registered furries, a mark that a decade ago was only exceeded by Anthrocon and Midwest Furfest. According to Fur Science, in the summer months of 2020, 58% of furries expected their involvement to increase in the next 5 years, which I must admit does align with the statistics. So the pandemic fundamentally changed the accessibility of the fandom. Virtual conventions opened doors to people who couldn't afford the extreme costs of attending events in major cities, whilst major platforms like VRChat allowed for permanent virtual spaces for socialization. So, after looking into all of this, I think what becomes clear is that whilst the specific reasons people join the furry fandom vary enormously, there's this common thread of seeking belonging and acceptance. Whether it was the 1990s queer person finding the community online, or the 2020 lockdown discoverer exploring VRChat, or maybe the neurodivergent teenager who finally feels understood, the furry fandom offers something that people just weren't finding elsewhere. The pandemic surge wasn't just about people being bored at home, it revealed how many people were already interested in this kind of creative self-expression, but never had the time or opportunity to explore it. When lockdowns forced everyone online, suddenly discovering the furry fandom became easier and more accessible than ever before. Anyway, these reasons won't apply to everyone, and that's completely fine. Some people join purely because they just think the art is cool, others because a friend introduced them, and some genuinely can't articulate beyond "it just feels right." Although, I'd love to know what drew you into the fandom in the comment section below, or you can start a conversation on my Discord server at dsc.gg/skykes about your own journey into the community. And with that, I hope you all have a fantastic day.